Are you sick of comic book movies?
Yeah.
Already?
Yeah.
Too many of them?
Too many. Once a month, too much.
Was it Marvel, DC? Does it matter?
All.
What about the television?
Yeah.
Do you watch a lot of the animated?
No, I couldn't. I couldn't survive if I also had to watch all of the DC plus Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Blah, 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 blah. No, I couldn't do it.
Well, DC television is different than movies, so you could choose one or the other.
That's true, but I don't know. I don't need that many universes.
I can keep up with one. If it was just Marvel, if it was Avengers and Captain America and then Black Panther and now possibly Namor.
The Submariner?
Submariner. I think they're working on the rights as we speak. Right now, somewhere in California.
Too many.
It's only 6 o'clock. They're working on that.
Too many.
I don't know. I like the idea that it's all interconnected because comic books, I mean, we're getting one comic book per month out of most of those, and there's how many X-Men titles, how many Avengers titles at one time.
But okay, that's great. Let's have a bunch of comic books. Do we also need to have a movie for every single one and a TV show for every single one? Why does this have to spread out into all media? Okay.
If you're telling me you give me one Marvel movie per month, and I spend $12, $15 on a movie ticket, I'm saving money than I would buying all the comic books I would get from Marvel.
Yeah, but what are you going to also have to buy the comics to be able to follow what's going on in the movie and watch the TV show?
I gave up on that 10 years ago.
I don't know. I think it's just I have a problem with the fact that it's I don't even know how to explain it. It's wearing out nerd culture as a whole. Like comic books are too cool and too popular to where
what's going to happen on the other side?
Yeah, everything's, okay, so we're going to have comic book movies every month for the next 5 years, and then so now comic books aren't cool anymore, or are they too cool, or are they nerdy? It's confusing to me. I like watching the Hulk smash stuff, but I mean,
so as long as every movie is Hulk smash stuff,
yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with Hulk smashing stuff. Hulk smash.
Well, everybody, welcome to the FoundryCast. This is episode number 1 of our new podcast. My name is Cyrus.
And I'm Zach.
And we are the dwarves who are building and creating this new multifaceted website, podcast, a lot of things all included. The FoundryCast is sort of the underlying current of a lot of what's going on for our projects for the website, which is called The Foundry.
Right.
And I think even the group, we might say, the contributors are all members of The Foundry. And we chose that name because we're really all about creating things, right. Exploring our ideas and putting them into reality in some way, whether it be purely audio, video, even crafting things with our hands, creating costumes, creating characters. Just an extension of that.
Yeah, it's about expression and creation, with a definite, nerdy sort of theme where we're not out there making, high fashion. We're out there making costumes from movies, fantasy movies or whatever. So yeah, there's definitely that current to it, but it's like you said, it's all about creation. It's all about building of things
and being able to share.
Yeah,
too.
And sharing that with our friends and sharing how we do things with other people who are interested in how you do it.
And hopefully this might inspire people such as yourselves to continue to create, because you can create things behind closed doors, and that's awesome if it makes you feel good and if it fulfills a need and allows you to express yourself. But a lot of that expression should be out loud and should be something that someone else can get their hands on and feel along with you. They may resonate with someone you don't even know.
Yeah, I think I can speak for both of us when there are certainly people out there who, when it comes to costumes or props or music or whatever the creation is, they love the end product. They want to see the end product and appreciate that great costume for what it is as a costume. You and I are those kinds of people who, we appreciate the end product, but maybe even more than the end product, we appreciate the aspects that went into it.
Absolutely.
Step by step, how you did this, how you put that together, how much did that cost? How did you make it happen? Did you have trouble? Did you fix it? Did you change the way? We care about the process of creation. Like I said, probably even more than the actual finished product.
And if at least how that informs our feeling about the finished product.
Yeah,
if I know what it took to create that blaster that you have that looks like a movie prop that you didn't just buy from the movie prop warehouse, or even if you did buy the slug but you retrofit it with lights and actions and you sanded things down and how you got it to paint and chip and look amazing, that then when I look at it I see work and love and craftsmanship, as opposed to I bought it off this website and they have a resin mold and they just make the same thing over and over again.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, doing that way.
No, there isn't.
I think it's make a quick analogy of, like, with cars, there are some people that appreciate driving a nice car and they just buy a brand new nice car and they enjoy their brand new nice car. There are other people who enjoy how cars are built and how they're engineered, and they enjoy driving a car because they can appreciate the pieces that went into it. And I think we're the latter when it comes to nerdy creations.
And I think we're at a really great time, technologically speaking, with the internet, where people can put more of their personality out there.
Absolutely.
How many cosplayers now have millions of followers? It could also be that a lot of them are ladies and very juggy.
Not necessarily true. Let's not paint with any broad brushes here.
No, but some of them might.
Except when it comes to painting miniatures and landscapes.
But anyways, it's out there, and you can now share costuming. You can now share the creative process.
Absolutely.
Instead of that Halloween costume you can buy off the rack, but what can you make on your own, or how can you customize everything else?
It's all about sharing our passion. And so hopefully anybody who's listening at home, you share in these passions and you appreciate hearing about other people who appreciate it too.
Please share with us your passions, because that's where this is. The Foundry is a place where anyone can grow and learn and create. And as you said, passion kind of strikes me with a personal story. And this is very recently. I had a bad day, as we often do, and I wondered, what is it that I could do for $1 million? If you could pay me to do anything, not nothing, but do anything, what would it be? And I got back to making things, creating things. Crafting is a big component. Making videos. I grew up making videos with friends. We borrowed the neighbor's camcorder, or they got their mom's camcorder. We just made commercials. We made movies. We did parodies. We didn't know what a parody was, but we just made parodies of popular dating shows or game shows. And that always spoke to me in ways that I haven't even yet gotten deeply psychological into, because I haven't taken any classes. I haven't taken any classes on filmmaking, but I knew it was a passion of mine. So I thought, how do I get there? I'm not a film student, and I can't afford to be one, but I need to start creating something. I need to get back into it, because I do a lot, like I said before, behind closed doors, and I'm doing things for just my friends to see, but I know there are so many people out there who are making this as their hobby. They have a full-time job, they're married, they have kids, but that a couple of hours a week they can squeeze together, they make things or they do things and they share it, and there is a community for that. Same thing is true in the cosplay community. It seems like people are wanting to share these things. And so I grew up somewhat as a nerdy kid to a degree, and I always was crafting. I was always making things. What was my favorite toy as a kid? Legos.
Legos, absolutely.
I also had something called Constructs. I don't know if you've ever seen these. They were mostly long pieces with little connectors. It's like Connects, but more squares and rectangle shapes. But there were wheels, and there were light up bits, and there were motors that you could attach. It was more space based, but I would build these things. I would spend all day building them and testing them and adjusting them, and then I would make little model pieces, and model cars was the next extension after that. And then after high school, I could afford to buy Gundam models and things. So it was always building and crafting. I even remember while I was still enlisted in the military, as a gift for some of my friends, I went home and got some of the Lego men and just used my old model paints to change and like make the shirt that they would wear when we would go out together. Or I made a radio for someone because he would always bring his boom box out to the friend's apartment so we could listen to music. So I kept doing it, and it wasn't until I got back into role-playing with friends that I got into more terrain and things that we would have on the table to take that role-playing experience to the next level. And so a lot of this for me has been an extension of that. And then also, I think you and I have a lot of simpatico, or at least we get along really well when we are creating, and it just makes it a lot easier. So having opportunities to collaborate with you have just been like sparking ideas.
You're right. Bouncing stuff off.
Bouncing stuff off of you, and then a quiet moment driving down the interstate. And I'm like, I need to tell Zach about this stupid idea, but it may be brilliant. And I think we also have some friends who share in our collaborative mindset, or at least they like to create things and work together and do communal projects. And
in a lot of different ways, too. I mean, that's when we were discussing this idea of this greater project, beyond just what you were going to do videos of and what I was going to do videos of, creating the Foundry as a website. We started, in my mind, it started out as, you're going to build terrain and I'm going to be doing these props. That's cool, we're creating. And that was kind of where it was. Right. And then we started talking about it and it became, we know a friend who likes to make music. That's creation too. We know a friend who likes to write stories. That's creation too. And then it becomes, you build and build and build, and it becomes an artistic endeavor rather than just instructional about here's how you glue these things together, And it becomes unbridled at some point, that you're making things just to continue to build and grow, because it does become an exploration of self. Yeah. And it does become something that you can share. So if it is, here's how to create this prop, then I may not be able to make that exact prop, but there may be a technique that you use, or there may be a way that you look at making props that resonates with me. Right. And so there is what I like to call a take home. There's something that when you watch the video, it may be that I find you entertaining, or it may be that I find your voice so soothing. But whatever it is, when it's over with, I may look at that subject a little differently, or it may open my eyes to it. And I think that's important too. Yeah, I think it's working on these projects I've been gradually moving towards what we're doing now over the past few years, I think, and it's been interesting, self-discovery. I don't want to make this sound high and mighty more than it really is. It's just a couple of nerds making fun stuff. Right. But, when it comes to, reflecting back and where it all comes from, for me, it's the same, growing up playing with Legos. I had erector sets that I played with a lot, Those are too dangerous for me. No, it's great. Little tiny bolts and nuts, and it was a lot of fun. And, going from that, and I used to do something called OM, Odyssey of the Mind, which is still out there. I don't know how popular it is, but I was always, on my OM team, I was always one of the engineers. I was building props and mechanical pieces. And so all through middle and high school, I had everyone around me seeing me do this and saying, you're going to grow up and be an engineer. You should be an engineer. You love building things. You want to be an engineer. And I ended up starting out going to school to do that and hated it, because being an engineer is doing math and very precision and all these, and I hated it. It turned me off and ended up going a different direction. But in recent years, I've gone back to, I still love to create, and I think it's it was misleading as a kid where the creation I was doing, yes, was mathematical. It was building with Legos and building with erector sets, but it wasn't. It was still a creative outlet more than. And if there's engineers listening, I apologize. I'm not trying to badmouth what engineers do, but it's more artistic than that. And so I think that's a lot of the field is. For me, it's been coming to terms with the fact that I am very creative, but in terms of building something, but that's also an artistic side to me as well. I think I discovered it a few years ago when I just started oil painting. I decided I want to start oil painting, and I love doing that, and I haven't done it in a while, but that was, you don't think of an engineer being, doing oil paints, but that's still creation. It's another aspect of creation, just like Legos is. It's kind of a different direction, but
Yeah.
so that helped me kind of discover. Oh, no, I love to do dioramas and model building, painting miniatures, doing terrain, and now I'm into prop building and costuming, and I'm learning to sew, and it's like, so it's a different perspective on what started out as very, very, very rigid creation has become very open creation in my mind.
Well, it's two different intelligences. You have the artistry that is a sort of intelligence, and then you have the sciences, for lack of a better word. It's like being an inventor. You may have a wonderful idea, and that's the creativity process, but you also have to be able to create it.
Yeah.
And that has a lot to do with, there may be some math, maybe some science, but some of it just ends up being hard work, get your hands on it and see what works.
It's very holistic. It's very both halves of your brain. Whereas you can be an artist, pure, which is left or right. I don't remember which brain is which.
I think it's all bunk.
Whatever. The point is you can be purely artistic and paint crazy murals of weird stuff with paint. Or you can be purely analytical and build a complicated structure according to precise plans. But I think true creativity joins those two together, where you're building something very precision based on plans that you created out of your head that's very artistic. It's combining those two halves together.
It's innovation. How do I take what I'm doing, whether it be making this song or writing this story, and get to where I want it to be with the tools that I have, because that's all that I have. Was it Apollo 13 where they had all those little bits of junk and they had to
figure out a way to make a filter.
Yeah, filter work on a certain hose,
yeah.
Round peg, square hole, vice versa.
Yes.
That's a lot of the process. You have limited resources. You've got only this recording software. You only have a cell phone. Doesn't matter. You can still do something with it. It's how do you get as close to your final vision. And the funniest thing is, doesn't matter how close you get, it will be closer than you think in the eyes of somebody else.
Yeah.
You may still see the flaws. You may still see the trickiness.
I always see the flaws.
And then you show it to someone else and they go, wow, how amazing.
That's amazing.
I'm incredibly impressed.
And you're like, oh God, I hope they don't notice that tiny mark on the bottom. They're not even going to look at the bottom.
They're not going to know. If anything, they will think that's part of the weathering of the design. Or
how did you make that chip out of that paint? Well, let me tell you.
That's right. There's a very interesting antiquing technique that I use.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was the first time that you noticed, or you can look back and say, I was a nerd?
That's a good question. I think looking back, it was probably, middle school, maybe even before that. I can remember times when my friends would, I would be in my house in the summer, and my friends would come over, and they'd be in the yard, and they'd be like, hey, come out and play, we're gonna, ride bikes. And I would make up an excuse because I wanted to stay inside and be on my PC programming in BASIC. And I realized I started kind of to realize I'm not really like other a lot of other kids. I don't really want to go and I want to be in here making something for myself or exploring new topics,
right?
Those kinds of things. It's probably. I don't know that I can pinpoint a specific time, but that's probably kind of that self-discovery that maybe even I didn't necessarily know it at the time, but I knew it at the time. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, you don't necessarily know it. You may just, it's like something.
It's deep down.
Something's going on, but maybe I know I'm different or whatever.
Yeah.
Huh.
But then you grow up and you realize that you're not that different.
No, everybody's that way in some way.
There's a lot of other people like you out there.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Well, and it's funny that, and I remember, you've probably seen there's a Venn diagram that's drawn. It's on 1,000 different geek websites now, so it's hard to tell who came up with it in the first place. But it's where intelligence meets obsession and social awkwardness, that in the very center is nerd.
Yeah.
But on the branches, you get dork and geek and I think it's dweeb. And so it's like, which one is closest to me? And I know deep in my heart that social interaction, awkwardness, that I have some of that. But as a kid, I didn't think so.
Yeah.
I knew there were things that I was obsessed about. There were cartoons and characters, and I thought math was cool. I thought science was cool, and I was fairly intelligent as a child. I didn't know that. I was still had trouble keeping attention in class, and we used to have something called, I don't remember if you remember, citizenship scores. Instead of just getting written up or referrals or whatever, you had a citizenship grade. That's how well you behaved, and my citizenship scores were always C's.
Really?
I did terrible in citizenship. I was a good kid, but I just kept messing around.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that my brain was like, I need more, give me more to do.
Right.
And I liked He-Man, I liked cartoons, but I liked all the cartoons. So there wasn't any real defining moment until really when I was in high school. And it's kind of a sad story, and I'm embarrassed to tell it, but I had two friends, good guys, but I noticed that I had grown and they hadn't.
Right. Yes.
Mentally.
Yes. I
and
understand exactly.
I had to tell them, you guys need to stop doing these weird things you're doing.
Yeah.
I like you, but we're getting made fun of.
Right.
And we have all these other great things about us we could be doing.
Yeah.
We could be joining sports. We could be joining other causes and other clubs, but they just wanted to push their glasses up and giggle and snort and be immature. And I had to sort of find a new social circle. And it was that point I noticed there was something different about some people, and that I was a lot like them, where I would obsess about a video game. Me and one guy would spend a lot of summers together jumping on a trampoline, and we found ways to make the trampoline into Legend of Zelda somehow, and we would make it into Metroid, and Mario's the obvious one, like jumping up and punching bricks.
Right.
But still, how do you save the princess? I'm going to jump over here and save the princess.
I have no idea.
But that's what we did. And so I think it was a combination of, I knew something was different, but then now, today, so many people are that way.
Yeah.
There are competitions for people playing video games and making millions of dollars off of it.
We were watching something earlier about that, actually, yeah.
So I think that what geek, nerd, dweeb, dork, what all that means has changed. Yeah. But going from a stereotypical 80s and 90s perspective.
Yeah. I think that's tough for you and I, because we're a little older than, the current, well, you call them millennials. I don't like that phrase, honestly, because I think generation's a lot more complicated than that.
It is, but
you and I, in the internet generation, I guess, the folks that are into the stuff we're on, that are online, have an online presence, we're a little older in that. We're not ancient by any means, but we're a little older. We do come from a different period where technology when we were younger wasn't cool, where being interested in technology wasn't cool, whereas now it's just everyone is.
If you were to say my computer has these specifications in 1997, you would be a dork.
Right.
If you say that now, everyone's like, that's an amazing computer. Congratulations. You are technologically advanced.
Well, I'm thinking about something very specific, Minecraft today. Yeah. Every kid plays Minecraft. Because that's what kids do. That's what kids do. They play Minecraft. When we were kids, if there was a game like Minecraft, you were like, you play Minecraft? Yeah, I like, creating things on the magic world. Yeah. Well, I think it was a different time, and, that's cultural and generational for sure. So it's interesting. It's different. I think it's a different experience that we have versus younger folks who have come up in a world where nerddom is cool.
And it's funny that you say that, because shifting into role-playing games, it's still kind of almost archaic that way. Where if you see these guys in a room and they're playing a game where they're blowing someone's head off in an action shooter, and then you say, hey guys, do you want to go play Dungeons and Dragons with me? What a loser. Yeah. But you would actually, playing a role-playing game like that, have more social interaction, more problem-solving skills, and be creating real bonds with humans in a room well, sometimes Skype, but in a room with people who know each other.
Yeah.
And that seems to me to be a much more rewarding experience,
Yeah.
but it's still considered to be lesser on a cool factor. And it's changed.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as it used to be.
I think that's interesting. That's definitely an aspect that still exists today. Is there are certain aspects of nerddom or whatever you want to call it that are very cool.
Yeah.
There are some aspects that are not mainstream cool, and Dungeons and Dragons is definitely one of them. And I think that's because it's older. I mean, there's some exceptions, but that's an older thing.
Bad movies.
I think of I think of like arcades as well. I as much as kids like playing games today, I don't think kids would think an arcade was cool.
But at the time, even though, I got a high score in a game, that's not cool, but going to the arcade was cool.
Yeah. True enough.
I mean, that was where you would go. Popular kids...
That was a hangout.
Now, maybe they'd be going to the clothing stores and they'd be doing their own thing, but still going to the arcade wasn't a losery thing to do.
Right. But today it would be. That's like, for you and I, that's nerdy but also cool, and I think for a lot of younger people... So there's a generation gap, I think, where some things are universally nerdy cool and some things are not cool.
Well, okay, so...
But still really nerdy.
So what do you think about this? Open-minded wise. There is a mall not too far from here that still had, at least a year ago, a store that you could go in, pay them money to play their Xboxes.
Right.
So it's kind of like an arcade. Still today, and I walk by that and true. I wonder,
actually,
who needs it? Why would you want to go and spend $15 to play 3 hours of somebody's Xbox that's just attached to a TV? Like, if it's not a massive multiplayer online kind of game.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's... I'm thinking about that. That is an interesting thing because... So, the reason arcades existed when we were younger is because you could not play those games at home.
Yes.
Because there was no... The game systems that existed, such as they were not powerful enough. So to play really high-quality video games, you had to go to an arcade and play on a machine like that. Today, you don't. You can have an Xbox at home. So, yeah, the question becomes, why do you need to go to the mall to play an Xbox? You can do that at home. I think that's really interesting because all they're banking on there is the social aspect.
Well, and what I've tried to surmise by paying attention to who went in there was it may have to do with money. People who can afford, their mom or dad could afford $50 this month. You guys can go and spend it at the, for lack of a better term, arcade.
Yeah.
But they couldn't afford a gaming console, or they couldn't afford a PC that would handle those games. So it's, instead of saving that money up for 6 months and maybe getting a Wii or getting a PlayStation 3 or whatever, going back a generation and still getting them a system, they decide to spend the money now, play games now, so they can talk about it with their friends. So they can talk about their friends,
exactly. So you can still be cool, like, oh yeah, I play Gears of War.
Yeah.
I don't play it at home, but yeah, I play it, yeah.
Well, it was weird when I was still enlisted and I was stationed at Pensacola. They had a little enlisted, I wouldn't say club, but it was like an enlisted building where they had a little Pizza Hut to go. You get your little personal pan pizzas. Ones, yeah. They did have a nightclub, but the only thing I saw there, they'd have like comedians that would come through, almost like a subpar USO show.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'd have music or dances, but then like it's mostly guys. But it was a Navy base, so there was some women too. They had all the phones that you could get the phone cards there too. But they did have one of those kind of arcades. You would pay money to go play on these computers, and there it made sense because you're far from home.
Yeah, you don't have that stuff.
You don't have a console.
Yeah.
Maybe if you do, how the heck did you get it here? Well, I was able to go home on leave because someone died, and I brought it back with me. Like, well, you don't know where in the world you're going next once you're done with your classes, and you get stationed somewhere. So a lot of these guys, they have extra scratch to spend, and they want to do something kind of cool. So it was... I don't know how else to say it. It was almost like a naughty booth at an adult store where some of these guys would go pay money to do something that they're a little ashamed of.
Right, yeah.
And come out and hope no one saw them.
Yeah.
That may have been a terrible, terrible reference, but that's kind of what it felt like, cause to see these guys go in.
I think that's appropriate for, especially people of our generation, accepting what is fun, but knowing it's not necessarily cool. Yeah. I don't know, and that actually leads me to an interesting discussion. I think for people like you and I, this may not be an issue for younger people who are as we speak, 18, 19, 20, entering the workforce. Mm-hmm. But you and I have been working for quite a few years now, both of us, and it's always interesting to me how I interact with people at work,
right?
And being what you might call a professional gamer.
Not to be confused
not
with
not a professional gamer. I don't get paid as a gamer, but going to work, and we've both been in
we've worn ties.
I'll say we've worn ties. We've worn ties. We've been in positions where we need to command respect, and you go into that position, and can you talk to somebody about playing Dungeons and Dragons and still have them respect what you have to tell them. I don't know. It's and maybe it's like I said. Maybe it's becoming not as much of an issue because it's becoming more and more accepted to like comic books and video games, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
It's for us. When I was in high school, playing Pokemon was lame. All the kids coming into the workforce now grew up playing Pokemon.
Yeah.
So you can go to them and talk to them about first generation versus second generation Pokemon, and they're totally on board.
Well, you do get into some of the where's the obsession level stop.
It's true enough, yeah.
And at what point did they say sports or girls are more fun? Or at what point did the girls say that's really cute, but I'd rather focus on something else?
Right.
10 years ago, you would be playing Magic the Gathering in a dark corner.
Yeah.
Today, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Because I think part of it is being able to be confident with it.
Yes, absolutely.
For instance, if someone said something about Minecraft at work, depending on who, of course, the audience, and I said, I played that, and I've run a server, and I still have an active character on a server. I don't play as often anymore. I can argue all day the benefits of that game.
Yeah.
About how popular it is, how much money it's made, how I could probably talk to your kids better than you can about it.
Yeah.
I'm the cool uncle because people,
right.
these guys, do you know about this? I'm like, you don't even know about the update where they added this and this? And they're like, what? So I feel confident knowing that in this instance in particular, it's a game that teaches economics. Mm-hmm. It's a game that teaches strategy.
Yep.
It's a game that teaches building as a
planning,
group,
design,
planning, protecting what you've made, and being innovative in those designs.
Game theory, all kinds of good stuff.
And so that in particular, I'm confident about. When it comes to role playing, I may downgrade it a little bit. I don't want to go and have to describe everything, but I like having a game night, like a poker night, because that's what it is for me. Some people play poker, some play, some global assault game.
Sure.
I don't get as deep into it, but I'm not ashamed. And do you play Dungeons and Dragons? No, I have.
No, of course not. No.
It's called Pathfinder.
By the way, are you looking for a game?
Yeah. Do you know someone? We need a rogue. You have a rogue?
I have that vision of like in sports movies where in the locker room where the athlete drops their bag and a needle falls out. I'm thinking like you drop your bag at work and a Magic the Gathering card falls out and you're like oh and somebody across the room sees it and then later on by the dumpster they're like, hey, do you play Magic? And you're like, yeah, I do. Let's play.
Hey, that's a really rare card. Where'd you get it? What booster pack did you get that out?
But yeah, I think reaching the point we are in our lives, age-wise, profession-wise, I think you do reach a we'll call it the dad point, and neither of us are dads, but the dad point where you are no longer capable of being ashamed of being a nerd.
Yeah, okay.
Where you're what? I've reached this point personally at work where I don't really give a flip. Pardon me. I don't really care if I'm not going to go out and go up to everybody at work and be like, hey, so let me tell you about this costume I'm working on. It's really cool. Yeah. Nobody cares. But if somebody's like, hey, what you working on? I'm like, oh, I'm just building a costume. What's the costume? Oh, well, let me show you. It's, and then I'm perfectly happy. Oh, yeah, I'm going to DragonCon in the fall. It's a big gathering of nerds, and I'm going to be dressed up the whole time, and it's going to be great.
Well, the truth is, you know a secret that these people don't.
Yeah.
You know that you get to put on airs, much like any other actor does. Yeah. But to go to an event and be involved in a live action, amazing event that the other person is going to stay home and watch the same Who Wants to Marry a blah 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 show.
Yeah, I think you reach the point where you understand that all of the things that we like as nerds, Dungeons and Dragons, video games, whatever, even though there's some stigma there, you realize they are absolutely no different than any other hobby. Mm-hmm. I play fantasy football, which is viewed as being very jockey.
It's very modern,
it's super nerdy. Yeah, you're studying statistics all day. So it's like, you know what? How is that any different than Dungeons and Dragons? And there are people that get really, really nerdy into it. Mm-hmm. So you can't. Yeah, I guess eventually you realize, I don't feel bad anymore because these are just hobbies. It's just what I enjoy doing.
There's the fact that they're hobbies, but they are also professions for so many people.
True enough.
The gamers who make a lot of money.
Yeah.
The YouTubers who host a lot of this stuff.
Right.
There are so many YouTube channels that are created that people have enough subscribers that they have ad revenue and it pays their rent.
That's their job.
That is their job. They create content. They build conglomerates with other creators and editors and producers so that they now run a company that began because they did silly YouTube videos at one point. Now, millions of hits each time they decide.
Incorporated.
Yeah, incorporated. Yeah. I did have a question for you about YouTube, as a matter of fact. In particular, one is see what you think about a situation, but before that, what do you think about YouTube as a site? Because in our creation, we're doing podcasts, which we can release through our RSS feeds that people. Hopefully, we'll get into iTunes soon. Yep. There's some finagling we have to do there, but podcasts are fairly two-dimensional in one way, and YouTube brings that other dimension into it.
Right.
For a lot of the product that you're producing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm making a fair number of videos. YouTube it's interesting to me. It's the gold standard, I think, when it comes to internet content production.
It's definitely the McDonald's.
The comprehensive internet content production, I guess I'll say.
Yeah.
I find it interesting looking at what YouTube had become, though, because it is becoming more and more staid, more and more mainstream, more and more settled.
Much like Twitter, how celebrities now...
Yeah.
You have to have a Twitter.
Twitter's now a corporate.
Yeah.
It's what corporations do, whereas it used to be... Facebook was the same way. And so,
It's exponential growth, but it has become staid, like you said.
It's definitely become... So YouTube has become the same way, where it's almost corporate, and it's becoming what television was in the 50s. It's settling down, becoming... There's scripture and structure being written for YouTube now.
And it's also becoming the big dogs eat the little dogs.
Yeah.
And I know a lot has happened recently with fair use and what can be posted. And there are people who put a lot of heart and soul into what they were making and things that they made sure were legally responsible when it came to fair use, when it came to what music they could have, how long it would be.
Right.
Taking video clips and making sure that it's transformative, or at least that it's like a critique. They could do those things, and so many people lost their livelihoods as people were claiming copyright.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even true, and just the way that the YouTube channels were set, not only did they lose their income, but once it was revealed that the copyright claim was false, any of the money that was gained is just gone, or it went to the person who was the claimant.
Right.
And so that's been changing over the last few weeks and months.
Yeah.
It's still not there all the way.
It's been kind of the controversy of the year.
Yeah, I've got some copyright strikes against one of my old channels just because I used a clip of music. I have one that played a very long song. Vanessa Carlton was in it.
Yeah.
But it was also two of my friends who I caught dancing in a silly way. And because they're try to be masculine all the time, so I put the most feminine, soft song I could. But because too much of the song played, they didn't consider it a parody, and I had to pull the video down.
Right.
I was like, "That's not fair. This is a joke.
Yeah.
You're not watching my video to
hear
get the
that
music.
song. Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, play this video over again. You have these two guys dancing in the dark, being dumbasses.
Yeah.
But the opinion I wanted from you was about social activism through YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And this is sort of a current event, and I wouldn't call the person's name out, but it helps with the story. There is a YouTuber named Keemstar. I think his name is Daniel Keem. He started doing a lot of other videos, but he's currently landed with some other people, but he's kind of doing YouTube news, like online news. So all these other YouTubers that have drama or something going on in their lives,
kind of stuff.
he's covering that. So
Right.
he's not necessarily making fun of it, but sometimes he's doing that investigative journalism that borderlines into Jerry Springer, TMZ. He's trying to make a bigger deal out of it than might actually be there for ratings. It got very popular. I always found him to be a bit of a douchebag, but he puts out a decent product, and I've seen some of his videos. I don't know if I ever clicked like, but I did see some of his videos, so I added to his view count, but I never added to his subscribe. Apparently, some people got together, some of which he knew that he may have considered to be friends, and they decided to go on strike against him, and they had all this evidence backed up on him that they were going to release, and they warned him about it.
Yeah.
All of these YouTube videos that he had done in the past where he made terribly racist comments, pedophilia comments, hateful, go kill yourself and die.
Yeah.
Just hateful, hurtful things. And he was doing a lot of it to be trolling,
Right.
but it was so negative and so cruel that it couldn't be seen as just a joke.
Yeah.
He was clearly thinking some of these things, saying these things, trying to hurt people, and now that's coming to light. He went, and it seems like a big deal, but in the grand scheme, I don't know. He went down by, he's got about 1.7 million subscribers.
So he's doing okay.
But these people striked against him,
Yeah.
and they started posting videos on their channels of his subscriber count dropping. So over 24 hours, it dropped by at least 100,000 people.
Oh, yeah.
So he's down about 1.6 million. So he's still not hurting for viewers.
Yeah.
He's got a lot. It's got him some attention, but his subscriber count, as of earlier this afternoon, still dropping.
Yeah.
So what do you think about people being responsible for their actions on YouTube? Because we're going to create content. We're not going to be, trying to stir things up.
I hope
but
not, yeah.
we still have to be responsible for the content we put out there.
Yeah, I think, and that's, when I talk about YouTube feels like it's settling down and becoming a more mainstream media, it's still born of the internet, and it still has those Wild West aspects to it. And I think that the further it gets from these things, the better YouTube is going to end up being, but also the more boring it'll end up being. It'll become television, where television today is very, very structured as a media and as an industry. But YouTube is still tied to the internet. There's still, you still have people who are YouTube stars that have a site that they had 10 years ago where they wrote something that wasn't right.
Sure.
Stuff is still on the internet. You're still tied to that. And you still have aspects of internet culture which are still very powerful that are derived from internet anonymity.
Yes.
You can get away with saying whatever the hell you want on the internet because nobody knows who you are.
Well, you think you can.
And now, when you do YouTube, suddenly, hey, your face and your name are on there. But they can start linking you back to some of those things. But I think you do have a lot of people on YouTube that, they're putting their face out there, they're putting the name out there, but they've been so ingrained by that anonymity on the internet that they still do stuff like this. They still say things that they shouldn't. They're not careful with what who they interact with, how they interact with people.
I think about it's, and maybe I shouldn't be telling this story, embarrass myself, but yeah, I was a mascot in high school.
That's nothing wrong with that. Somebody's got to do it.
I was a giant bird, but I'm a sizable enough guy.
Yeah.
Just short of 6 foot. So, and I'm hanging out with the cheerleaders all the time. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, no, I'd do it.
And I never had to practice. I just hang out with cheerleaders and tell them what looked good, and hey, keep working on that tumble. You're doing great.
Jump around for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and that's it. But we fought against we had a game against one of our rivals who happened to be another bird mascot.
Yeah.
So the mascot, we called each other out.
Uh-huh.
And we're like, okay, so we go around all the way around to the goalpost, and it's funny because our bands start coming around too.
Nice.
Like they're like, we're here to back you up. I'm like, I got this. So I go over, and the guy's like, you want to fight? I'm like, we could pretend to, but let's not really fight. I'll hurt you. He's like, what? Whatever, dude. I'm like, no. Do you see this little gap underneath the bill? That's my eye line. This is how tall I am.
I'm a lot taller than you, bro.
And like, because I'm looking at the top of his head in his little bird costume. I'm like, I'm going to wipe the floor with you.
Yeah.
You don't know who you're talking to. Fast forward to like playing Warcraft or some other online game where someone's talking smack. And you're like, I wish I could reach through and grab you because you don't know who you're talking to like that. And there's still a little bit of this, I'm going to make any comment I want. I'm going to say hurtful, hateful, racist, bigoted things. Yeah. But someone out there is going to be clever enough to know how to find you and put your name out there. Yep. And then other people are going to do hateful, spiteful things to you, which I'm not saying is right. But you just have to be careful what you put out there because it's possible someone's going to find you and shut you down.
Just as you're affected by that internet culture and you're going to say bad things, they're affected by the same culture. They're going to do bad things too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think what YouTube, what the internet, what all of that stuff needs to do, and hopefully it will as the generations that are so ingrained into it grow up and mature, is that it will mature more as a medium.
I hope so.
That idea that you can say whatever you want and get away with it will go away.
I think more that we realize that YouTube is connected to Google, is connected to this and this and this. That internet, it just doesn't go away.
Everything that goes onto the internet is there forever. You can't escape it
until the alien overlords.
Until
that's
Skynet rises.
Yeah,
and
that's when it'll really be there.
Yeah, Skynet will find you based on your Tumblr history.
What I think is cool is also just the fact that people are using some way of social activism with this. Before when hacking was this really bizarre term that had to be covered on news reports on 2020.
Yeah.
It's
what is
called
a computer?
Hacking. When computer activists will use the interweb.
The interweb.
The world. They call it the World Wide Web.
Yeah. You have to have a whole story about what the World Wide Web is to understand what hacking is.
And even the movie Hackers, as entertaining as it is, but only 30% based in reality.
Maybe.
Just fantasy is what that movie is. But the idea of what that was has changed, and you're not a hacker anymore.
Yeah.
You can do this for good, or you could do this to, for no reason, send a SWAT team to someone's house. And
swatting somebody. Yeah, like I said, I think that will change, continue to change, especially, YouTube now. There's money. There's a lot of money. There's not as much money as television or film, but there's a lot of money, and there's more and more money every year going into these. The more money gets involved in something, the more structured, the more settled it becomes. And I think that's going to continue happening. And I think you'll start to see this kind of stuff go away to a certain extent. It's always going to be there because it's social media. It's always going to be there. But yeah, I think you'll see it fade away.
Fortunately, it is still a strong medium, and it is a very easy to access medium.
Yeah.
There were times long ago where if you wanted to create a blog, you would have to go through very detailed back channels, or you'd have to pay a significant amount of money to host what it is you want to put out there. YouTube, you can very quickly make a channel.
Yeah, super easy.
All you need is a webcam and a email address, and you're there. Yeah. But I think it's also a great place where we're seeing these new and exciting communities and sub-communities, and sometimes they connect, and it's like this amoeba just creates a super amoeba because all these people on these fringes start to connect to each other and share videos and share ideas. It's exciting that it still has a life of its own beyond the advertising and beyond the
I hope that aspect never goes away. I guess, like I said, because it's still social media, I don't think it ever will, but it will evolve, and
maybe the next YouTube site will pop up somewhere.
Yeah, you never know. It'll become the Wild West again.
Yeah. Hope not. So as we begin to wrap things up here at the FoundryCast, wanted to go over some of the projects we've got going on, some of the things that we're working on individually and collaborative, and maybe some of the things that we can look forward to in the future as we bring in...
No, we've got nothing to offer.
No, that's it.
This is it.
Thanks
for
episode 1.
Just kidding.
1 and done.
Just kidding. We got plenty to... Well, I won't say plenty, but we've got some other things to offer.
I would say we have plenty to offer.
Yeah, you're right. We do. Between the two of us, we do. Between other folks that we're hopefully going to have involved,
we have some amazing friends.
Yeah, way better than we are. That's absolutely for sure.
Yeah, we don't deserve them. As a matter of fact, I'm done with them.
Well, I mean, okay.
Can never live up to the hype.
So we're done again? Okay, thanks for listening.
Right. Thank you. I am doing a bit more crafting in the role-playing sense. I don't want to say terrain because I am in no way a master, but it's something a little more for useful things in role-playing games. A lot like Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder in particular. But I think there's going to be some analogies that can be made to other games or just getting into it, because I've watched a lot of videos and I think so many people have so many great things to say, and if I can pass any of that along to you guys, if you go, I want to learn more about that, I want to check out these certain YouTubers, I'm going to name drop like crazy in my videos. Go, don't watch me right now.
This is where I'm
finding pause me, folks. Go watch this person's video, and then come back.
We want them to watch you though.
Yeah, come back.
Okay, yes. Come back. That's the most important part.
Well, because they're usually going to say, here's how to do this landscape. Right. Come back to me, I'm like, this is how you trick it out. Or this is how you do it
This is
cheaper.
what I'm doing to it now.
Because some people tend to be very one medium based. And I'm a little more multi-medium and also what do you got laying around. So it tends to be a little cheaper, the things I do, but they look just as good. And in some cases better, a lot of cases not better, but so that's awesome. That's the Crafty Bastard Games on YouTube. Please check that out, Crafty Bastard Games. I shorthand it CBG, but every time I do, people say, "No, Crafty Bastard." Crafty Bastard Games.
You're that bastard, man.
I guess so.
Bastard that crafts stuff, man.
Well, and CB are also my initials, so I'm thinking CB Games if I need to shorten it, but no, it's Crafty Bastard. So that's something that I'll be working on. I already have my first, I call it episode 0. Just because it's
I've done a couple.
It's more testing, getting stuff out there.
Right.
But I figured instead of taking it down, I'll just leave it up because I know this happens to a lot of other people that I've watched. People go, "What's your dice collection look like?" Seriously, my dice collection? Do you want to know about it? That's very personal. But I figured I'd get it all out there.
You nipped that in the bud already.
Yeah, you can see all I got going on in my cigar boxes. There's the lion's share of my dice collection. I hope to continue to use our podcasting, even to do some of my own, whatever strikes me. I have a few coals in the fire. There's a few I was wanting to do one about conspiracies, and you and I have talked about this one. This is probably one we'll end up collaborating on, just because it's such a fun damn subject.
It is, especially after about 11:30 p.m. After 2, 3, 4, 6 beers.
4 or 6 beers. Yes.
It becomes incredibly entertaining. So I think there's some bark on that dog.
And I think I have a different.
I have no idea what that means.
It's a new term.
It's sure.
It may even be the title of this episode.
I think I might have heard that on Hee Haw at some point as a child.
It's a great damn show. I think that it's one that
dating myself there.
There's more to say than there are aliens or aren't aliens. It's like who cares and what's the point of it? And then there are some facts that you just wonder how how is this possible and this isn't possible? Some logical conclusions.
Yep.
And then, like you said, very entertaining, especially towards the end of the night, towards the end of the 12-pack of beer.
Yeah, it gets fun. Well, currently I'm in the same boat as you, putting out some YouTube videos, and I think I'm under the gun, and it's timetable wise, and it's really focusing my content.
Some pressure.
Yeah. So at the time of recording, I think we're about touch over 90 days away from DragonCon. It's ticking, man. I've got a big board, the big board at home. I'm counting down the days. DragonCon is a fairly good sized convention. I'm not sure. I want to say they're the second largest, maybe the third largest.
Yeah, you can't beat Comic-Con, and there's
you can't beat Comic-Con.
E3.
If we count E3, but I'm looking more at like that's a trade convention, really. We're talking more about like fan conventions. But yeah, DragonCon is a very large convention held in Atlanta every year. It started out long ago as fantasy literature and Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, but it encompasses pretty much everything now. So yeah, I'm going to that this year again. Been there the past few years, but this year I'm staying the whole weekend at one of the con hotels. Really excited about that. But it's got me under the gun where I've got a couple of pretty substantial costumes planned. Not amazing, but definitely some work involved. And those have to get done. I can't be like, I can just put this on the shelf for a month and come back. They got to be done in time for the con. So basically, all the content I'm producing right now is towards that. Right now, probably the primary focus is a series called Let's Build Lightsabers, where I'm trying to build prop lightsabers that look decent for under $50, $50 or less. Joe's still out on that price?
No spoilers. We won't tell you exactly where you're landing on money.
No idea even still, but that's one project. I'll be doing a couple other series about the rest of the costuming I'm doing there. Also have started work on another series called Let's Learn, where I'm learning about some of the things that are backing up, that are basing the work I'm doing on costumes.
Right.
Let's learn about electronics and circuitry. Let's learn about sewing, that kind of thing. But basically everything at this moment is focused either towards the Foundry itself or towards those goals of getting those things done in 90 days, 3 months. After that, I think things will open up a little bit. You and I have discussed some future projects together, and
I'm very excited about all of them. Some a little more I get giddy about and I giggle about and I get an idea, and I don't want to overthink it because it won't be funny in the end if I go too far down that road.
True.
But I'm just going to throw a name out there. We're not going to give any indication of what it is.
Okay.
But Road Boners.
Road Boners
is hopefully a thing.
It will be a thing.
That could be the most entertaining thing we do, possibly.
Probably will be. There will be, again, copious amounts of alcohol involved in that. You got to figure anything where we drink a bunch probably is going to be more popular. We'll see.
Well, I have fun with it. Is that the most important thing?
Exactly right. I like to think that people are going to be watching our videos to learn about the projects we're working on, but I got to figure the most popular is going to be us getting drunk and talking about dumb bullshit, or being road boners.
Road boners.
Which again, you'll find out what that means when Road Boners premieres.
This fall.
Coming soon.
Well, truthfully,
Road Boners.
The summer season for both of us is usually kind of a busy season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fall slackens up possibly a bit.
Yeah,
in places. School is a factor. Our careers and our other hobbies, and then DragonCon is the biggest deadline. So some of what we're going to move forward with may have to wait until that 90-day period, but that's why we're trying to get some things rolled out now. One of the things that I'm going to be spearheading is called GM's Roundtable. And this is collaborative in such a way that I want to involve other people who've run games. And it could system neutral. It doesn't have to be just fantasy based. It could be the sci-fi, it could be the apocalypse, it could be vampires, witches in wardrobes. It doesn't matter. But what it is, and this, I would love to see it evolve to the point where I'm reaching out to other big time YouTubers who've run games before. The goal would be Will Wheaton would be one of the people that I think would be just someone who's run some games, played some games.
Yeah.
Patton Oswalt,
Sure.
Some of those kinds of guys.
Vin Diesel?
I don't know if he's ever run a game.
I'm sure he's played, though, right?
He's played games. I've seen him play. It's not as amazing as I thought it was, but it was still pretty cool.
And I think that good of an actor.
I like him.
I'm just kidding.
I think he's coming.
Is he going to be on the show next week?
Yes.
Fuck, I didn't mean it.
He's really good. The surprises, and now I'm going to have to bury my partner. Now, this could go big, but I love the idea of talking, especially to some of our friends who've run some of our favorite games that we've ever played.
Right, yeah.
Talk a little bit more about how to put the game together, some of the research they do, and some of the common problems they have with players.
Players are the worst.
Players, if it wasn't for players, the game would go smoothly. And to also hear some of the funny stories of things that have happened behind the scenes when the players go completely off the rails and do the most random thing, or even when they did something random in a game. Yeah. So I hope to have that up here pretty soon. It's something that I may record audio, or it may be something that I'm able to do if it's with people from across the globe, do via Skype or something like that. So I'm excited about that one. That's an idea I've had gestating for quite a while, and I already have enough friends who have run games. Zach has run one of my favorite games of all time for Star Wars. So getting into detail, because I've held off from talking about it too much with you, just so we could have that conversation later.
Sure. By the way, all your characters are dead.
You lying? No, don't you do that. No, I know several people that will literally take your head off.
Asteroids fell and everyone died. Future projects for myself. Once Dragon Con is over and done, I'll start on costumes for the next Dragon Con.
No, you got to wait until 90 days before.
I will, but definitely. I mean, not to say I haven't been working on them up to this point, but I think one of the big projects that I have been meaning to do for a couple of years, and I really like to do it this fall, is to build my own arcade cabinet. Something I've always wanted to have in my living room for when friends come over, so we can gather around and play all my favorite arcade games, because it's one of my absolute favorite formats of gaming.
It was so funny when I kept suggesting games that you should have in it. You already that's in there.
Oh yeah, I've got it. I've got them all.
Ninja Turtles arcade.
I've got them all.
X-Men.
X-Men is the big question mark with the arcade cabinet. Do I go ahead
4 or 6
and make 6 sticks? And I think it's going to end up being 4, but
I mean that's understandable. We don't have to play with Dazzler. We can just be Colossus, Wolverine, Cyclops, Storm.
Yeah,
maybe Nightcrawler. We don't need Dazzler.
I'll take Nightcrawler. I love Nightcrawler.
Yeah, we don't Dazzler.
But yeah, that's one project, and I'd love to do a long series on that. That's going to again tie into the work I'm doing right now in electronics and all that stuff. I have another series that has given my YouTube channel its namesake. My YouTube channel, by the way, is 9 to 5 Gamer. Please subscribe and like, and etc., etc., etc.
Can you spell that? 9? It's not the 9 and then the number 2.
No, it's 9TO5.
Like the Dolly Parton song.
Yeah, but don't. Watch that. Watch those videos because Dolly Parton's great. But after that, come to my channel and subscribe. But there's an actual series that I'm doing that I want to do. The first episode is recorded but not edited, called 9 to 5 Gamer, that I'd like to do some more episodes on. I've also got a board game that I've designed that's fairly far along. I'd love to do some more work on that in the fall and through the winter. That's kind of board game season for me, is wintertime. So that'll probably end up being some collab work as well, and maybe some friends involved.
And I've played this game. I've prototype tested it. It was surprising amount of fun, and I know some of the ideas that you have to take it to the next level. I would like to see that, come true. Even if it's not to make money, it's to have this game out there. It's just in the hands of people. Finished version.
I'm one of those people, and I'm sure Cyrus is the same way, where you, in your free time at work, when you've got a couple minutes to think, you think about systems, game systems, board game systems. I mean, I find that enjoyable. So
I think of features a lot because I subscribe to Dungeon and Dragon magazine, and then you would get Dragon magazine, and they would throw extra classes at you.
Yeah.
Just random classes. Here's how to be a tiger ninja. I'm like, a tiger ninja? What is that?
I don't know what that is.
here's a Dragon Lancer. A Dragon Lancer?
Sure,
cool. Yeah. And it's just like extra features. Here's 20 potions. Here's 20 spell side effects. Like, ooh, like how you can have that in. So, yeah, I would like to do something kind of similar. Maybe in a crowdfunding direction. Not exactly sure. I don't care to make a dime off of it. I just want to be able to get it out there and printed for people that they can use along with their game. So more on that to come later.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, tying this back around to the very beginning of the podcast, I think that's the unifying goal of everything we're doing. Is we're not here to we're certainly not here to make any money. We're doing all this to share what we love to do with other people and to help inspire other people to come up with ideas, to have them share it with us, so that it helps us come up with new ideas. It's collaborating and it's building and it's creating, and that's what we love to do. That's what we live to breathe and do, and we love to share that with other people.
Odds are you will not be listening to this podcast if you didn't already know who we are or our websites, but want to give them out to you again. 9 to 5 Gamer.
9 to 5 Gamer is my YouTube. I got a Twitter and what's it as well.
I need to get on the Twitters.
You do need to get a tweets.
I have my own personal Twitter, but I never use it. I'm never logged in.
I do have
but I'm going to try because I don't subscribe to the celebrities. I subscribe to people I care about.
Yeah.
But Crafty Bastard Games is my YouTube channel.
Yep.
Brand new, sparkling new art coming. We've got other people working behind the scenes stuff for us on music, possibly
music, all kinds of cool stuff. I mean, yeah, that has been, like I said earlier on, that's been the really fun thing about doing this project is tapping into all our friends' creativity, because everyone has that little piece of them that wants to make something.
And as soon as we have some more information on them and what they have available, we will definitely pimp that out, let you know where to find it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So big things to come, and we promise we will deliver. We've got deadlines, real hard deadlines on some things. And some will just keep generating to entertain ourselves, and we really hope to entertain you.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm Cyrus.
And I'm Zach.
Thanks for listening to the FoundryCast, and we'll catch you next time.
See you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.